let you take it over. Laura's going to kind of moderate this, and the thought there, I'll let her do it. I don't know why I'm hopping in. Go for it.
Yeah. So for so long, many of you guys were like, why don't you and Ismael, why don't Josh and Ismael get together and do a thing? Now our members have access to that. We have a whole jam session that we recorded, I don't know what, like a year and a bit ago, Ismael, when you were in town.
Oh yeah. When I beat Josh at ping pong, yeah, I remember that day.
No,
did not happen. Lies.
What you did do is talk him into getting a professional table tennis coach, and you had no intention of getting one. So yeah. But anyways, we're pumped to actually finally make this happen. I should have probably made this happen sooner, but here we are, guys. I'm excited to give you this opportunity for a few reasons. Obviously,
you want us to send that to you?
Mute Robert. Obviously, this time of year is crucial for us in this industry. And of course, what we care most about is you guys killing it, not just me and Josh, but Ishmael too. And clearly very evident in his passion in the group and his willingness to help us all level up. So it's really important to not just, of course, the summer, it's much easier to do business in the summer, but how can we make sure that we do not just amazing because it is the summer? How can we do even better because we have the right systems in place, we're executing the right tools, the right tricks, tips, and systemizing our business, so it's not just we don't just do well this year, or we don't just do well in summer. We have the systems in place that allow us to do well in the shoulder season too. So what we're focusing on today is summer. I'm going to ask Josh and Ismael the same questions. I want both of your takes on the same questions, because I'm sure there's a lot of things you agree on, and I'm sure there are nuances too that a lot of people can jump on and execute on. So the main question to kick it off is summer. So what is your opinion, Ismael, on what are your three things that that allow a person to just kill it in summer? There's some people that just do well because of summer, because it's summer and the summer is right. What are the other things that you must do to really like blow it out of the water, beat your competition?
Can you ask Josh these questions, because then I'm going to copy his answer, because I don't want to sound dumb. Right?
No, because I don't want you to cheat. I knew that's what you were going to do.
Look, the number 3 mistakes people are going to make in summer. Number 1, every single technician, every project manager out there sees that there's so many freaking calls on the board that they know that there's people calling out on the phone. When can you guys come out here? I need air conditioning. My air conditioning is not working. So they see the money signs as soon as they get to the door, and they're rushing the process to go and slam the deal. Okay, slow it the fuck down. And I'm going to cuss a lot, so I don't care if you guys aren't going to let me cuss, but I am going to cuss. Slow it down. Okay, slow it down. These technicians, these project managers, everybody knows that there's an abundance of call, and they want to rush the call, right? Just because they want to see what the outcome is. And I tell everybody, that's a number 1 mistake you guys are going to make this summer. So I'm telling you right now, before you make those mistakes, you're going to have 3 calls a day, nothing else. Okay, there's no 4, 5, 6, 7 calls a day. You're not there to replace capacitors and go to your next call, or put R22 and go to your next call. We don't operate that. Okay, you're there for 3 hours at each call. You're going to be there 3 calls, right? They're all confirmed. Our CSR and dispatching team do amazing at confirming these appointments. So when the technician does show up, guess what? The customer's already ready to engage with us. So number 1 mistake that they're going to make, that everybody's going to make this summer, they're going to rush every call because they're trying to produce an outcome, right? Because they know that the customers need something. They know they need air conditioning. They know they need our service, right? So they're going to rush it instead of building the value, right? And they're going to skip the steps that we've been practicing all year long of, hey, we're here for three hours. We're going to make sure that this customer gets the full next experience, and we're going to make sure that we build enough value where people ask the right questions, right? Where we can get the project manager to get a permanent solution for them, not just replace a capacitor for $500 and go to your next call, right? Yeah, there is some instances that's going to happen. Those 3, 4, 5-year-old units, right, that just need a little bit a capacitor or a circuit board monitor, whatever it is. But most of the calls that people are going to be running this summer are going to be priority calls, 8+ year old units. Second thing that they're gonna make a mistake on, they're not going to build enough value because they see that the demand is there. So they're just going to go for the quick kill, right? They're just going to, even the project managers, right? They're gonna go in there and just put a 3-piece change out and go to your next call. Put another condenser coil and go to your next call, right? Because they're making a percentage of the sale instead of, hey, let's slow it down, right? And this is for the project managers. I already told you what the technicians are gonna do. The project managers are just gonna go for equipment, right? Instead of, hey, let's look at the installation, let's look at the ductwork, let's look at the system, let's see if it's even designed properly. Let's go through all the options instead of just going for the quick kill, right? So building up those high tickets, those 20, 25, $30,000 tickets is what's gonna kill your summer, right? There's a couple things that every single one of these business owners should be looking at, and one of the key ones is your average install ticket. Okay, your average install ticket tells you how profitable you're going to be in that month or that week or that quarter, right? So by rushing the process and by not letting these technicians do their 2-3 hour calls, by not letting these project managers stay in the house for 2-3 hours and building enough value to get that average ticket high, right? It's going to hurt everybody's profitability.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so
The last thing that you guys are going to look at is in-house support. In-house support has a shit ton of fucking calls coming in every day, right? In-house support, that means CSRs and dispatching. CSRs and dispatching have 1 million calls a day, right? Some of you guys we're booking because you guys were booking calls for in April and May, and you guys were booking them for May, June, July, and August, and those are tune-up calls, right? Those are tune-up calls for your members. Like, we don't run any calls for memberships in the summer, okay? In the summer, we're here to make money. We're here to make money because in the winter, we're gonna invest that money. So the memberships will get ran after summer, in the winter and shoulder season. That's when your members get ran, okay? So rescheduling a member and pissing them off, like that's 100% in-house support's fault. Like making sure that all your team is following, is marching to the same beat. That's the owner's job. Right? Making sure that in-house support knows, hey guys, we're not running any tune-up. It's 120 degrees outside. We need to make sure that we prioritize calls, and we need to make sure that all these technicians and all these project managers get the right calls, because guess what? They gotta make money too. And if half of your team doesn't make money in the summer and they had a shitty summer, guess what? Their mindset's gonna fuck up. Now in the winter, they're gonna go in there desperate. Now in the winter, they're gonna start doing things that they're supposed to, because they don't have the summer that they wanted, right? So in-house support, technicians, sales guys, all those guys, you gotta slow it down. Control the tempo of the company, right? By controlling the tempo of the company, that's what's gonna give you the high profitability tickets, the high average tickets on install, the 5-star reviews, right? And making sure that every customer gets that full experience.
I love it. I love it. There's many things in there that there are many things in there that I know Josh will agree on, and there's a few that I didn't know. I don't know, Josh, are you in agreement on 3 calls? I think I've heard you say 4.
Yeah, 3 calls is too little for me. Like
Yeah,
statistically, like Ismael is going to push back, but statistically, it's you make more money per call at 3 calls, but you make more money, which is why you don't put margins in the bank, you put money in the bank, right? At 4 calls, some people do 5. So that's statistically, like mathematically, the ideal number, but that's not a big deal.
What did you say? 4 or 5? What did you say?
4 or 5. So statistically, those are the numbers you should be at. I wouldn't do more than that, because exactly what Ishmael said, like technicians will, like they assume they have the sale and they'll start cutting quarters. They stop playing the how much game. So here are my 3 things.
Just a quick question there. Should companies take like that data as truth, or should they like analyze their own data and
test it yourself. But I mean, this has been tested over, millions of calls over hundreds of companies. So, I mean, I'm a data-driven guy. So, what you can't do, which a lot of companies do, is, hey, we're super busy. Everybody runs 7 calls. Like that's where you're
why I disagree with that, because on that, Josh, is because the 3-call minimum gives you a full hour for a full day for the technician. Once you start running this technician 7, 8, 9 p.m., you're burning them out. The next day,
so let me pull you back, Ishmael, because there's a difference. You're in LA. LA is a nightmare to drive.
No. We have technicians all over. We got 140 technicians.
I got you.
Their window time is less than 45 minutes now. If I had 20 technicians.
Yeah, but if you're in Phoenix, like Parker and Sons, our window time's 15 minutes, right? So you can run an extra call just fine, right? If you're in Nebraska, your window time's even smaller, right? It all depends. Like, so it's not a hard and fast rule, but 4 is generally the best number.
Yep.
If you're in a smaller service area, you can pull off 5. If you're in Chicago, New York, or LA, 3 is probably the number for you. It all depends where you're at. So like, it's not a hard and fast rule. You got to look at your own data, but use the data to make a decision. No matter what, we're all on the same page. They shouldn't be running 7 calls, right? Number 1, because they burn themselves out. Number 2, because they walk over money because they're trying to get done fast because they know they have another call that's going to be a bigger opportunity than this one. Sure.
Yep.
Right. So here are my three things.
Go ahead.
And my 3 things are a little different because I'm trying to focus on, I think a lot of people know that Ishmael, but like a lot of people don't execute it. I agree with you, but let's focus on the things people don't pay attention to. The first thing is, and it's freaking embarrassing, but everyone does it. When revenue starts coming in, almost all of us stop paying attention to cost. Like you all realize that profit is made in the summer. Profit's made every month without exception, right? But most of the profit's made in the summertime. And when all that money is coming in, people tend not to pay attention to your costs and it affects your bottom line. You're like, who cares? We're making so much money, but good's the enemy of great. Like paying attention to your costs, making sure your pricing structure right, making sure you're not buying shit that you don't need. You're paying attention to your subscription in the summertime is more important than the other time because it's just so easy to let go. So like focus on your costs in the summertime. It's an easy mistake. Almost everybody does it. Second thing is kind of similar, and I'm going to echo what Ishmael said is like during the slow season, everybody plays, not everybody, but everybody should be playing the how much game. Like how much can I do to make sure I get this sale? During the busy season, people tend to play the how little game. Like how little can I do and still get the sale? So you really need to hyper focus on making sure that they're doing the basics, staying consistent. And the only way you do you gotta know your metrics, you gotta be doing, you gotta do your ride alongs, all the stuff that you do during slow season. It's more important during the busy season.
You gotta be on data queue because then you don't gotta track shit. You just look at your fucking screens.
That's still tracking. It's still tracking, right?
It tells you everything. You don't gotta fucking call your dispatch manager and your service manager and your accountant. How are we doing? You just look at a screen, look at a couple numbers, and it tells you how you're doing.
Oh, for sure. Like everything's database. Like you need to know this stuff for sure. So those are the 2. The third one is, and Ishmael touched base on it. Like a lot of people during the summertime, like they just put their head down and grind. And we could do that as GMs and business owners because it's our businesses and it directly affects us when we have success. But technicians and CSRs don't think and feel that way to the same level, right? So what you want to make sure is you're not wearing down your team in the middle of summer. Now that means you don't run 7 calls. It means they don't run, 20 days in a row. It doesn't mean that, they get a bunch of time off in the middle of summer, right? The key to this is like during the summertime, you can't overwork them, but you also can't dial down the fun. Like during the wintertime when, they're not making as much money, like all of us pay attention to morale. We really drive and we make the things fun and exciting. And we make sure they feel supported and comfortable. In the summertime, for some reason, like that goes out the window. Like when the summertime is when technicians are more likely, they may not leave in the middle of summer, but they'll leave after summer because the way you treat them over the summer, right? So make sure you're still focusing as a business owner, right? Your clients are your customer, or your customers are the team members. That's what you need to focus on. They'll take care of the end customer, right? So make sure you're still having fun, keeping a relaxed atmosphere, making sure they enjoy coming to work every day because it gets real stressful in the summertime. And we've all done work. I know Ishmael, you did installs, I did installs, right? You go up in here in Phoenix and it's 200 degrees in an attic in the middle of summer. Like, you need some extra love sometimes. So make sure that you're keeping it light and fun and making sure your team's morale is high because that's something that almost everybody fucks up.
What are
such
some
an easy fix?
What are
I'm
some
gonna
things that you can help around?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Josh. I've never done install or technician or sales.
Oh, I thought you did install.
No. I wish I had though, because then I would
I
actually
did so over summers, all through college and high school, and I dug ditches as a plumber. My first job was in a sheet metal shop when I was 13, which I'm pretty sure is illegal, but that's not the point.
I idolize people like you, Josh, that actually know what they're doing.
I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Don't make that assumption. I mean, people ask me like, hey, what's wrong with my AC? I'm like, oh, dude, like I know what's supposed to happen. Like I can actually describe exactly what's going wrong. I could describe a lot of times how to fix it. But then if you like put a tool bag in front of me, I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. Like I don't know how it's supposed to work, right? Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, so something that something to make it even more actionable. Average ticket. Obviously, you know, some people's average ticket is significantly higher than others. What are the things that you can do that can have a drastic impact on rising that average ticket? Obviously, spending more time on the call. We spoke about that, but other things.
You want to go first?
Go ahead, Ismael.
Literally, raise your prices. You don't have to change anything in your fucking system. Go call your operation manager right now. Go call your account, whoever does your price book on Service Time, on House Copper, whatever the hell you are on. I guarantee you, if you raise your prices 20, 10, 15% right now, tomorrow, nothing changes. Nothing changes. Just raise your prices. Make your fucking money. Nobody's going to tell you shit. I've been telling you.
The one thing I'll push back, Ismael, and I agree with you 100%. And I think so many contractors are underpriced, but don't mess with your lost leaders. Things like tune-ups, diagnostic fee, things that people shop over the phone. Just put it out there because someone changes like, I changed my tune-up price or my diagnostic fee by $40. All of a sudden, people did less business with me. That's like the only thing you have to worry about.
Go in, and if you're selling a 3-ton system for $8,000, go and put it at $10,000, and nobody's ever going to tell you shit. I promise you, nobody's going to tell you anything. Let me give you a perfect example. When I started Next Gen Air 6 years ago, we were selling a 3-ton system. Okay, 3-ton system for $59.95. I used to advertise this shit all over newspapers, magazines, Velpac, Groupon, everything. Those $59.95 does it all. It was a call to action so people could pick up the fucking phone and say, hey, I saw your ad for $59.95. What does it mean? The ad did its job. We got inside the door already, right? So $59.94. That same system right now. Okay, the same system. Yes, we're a little bit more customer oriented. Yes, we got a bigger company, so we could cover more. Yes, our customer service is a little bit better. That same system selling for $15,000 right now. The same exact system, same exact equipment, right? Our installers are obviously better trained and when we put a little bit more warranty in it, but the overall basics of it is $15,000. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. We just got a little bit better, right? Guarantee every single contractor, 8 out of 10 contractors that I talk to, I always ask them, what's your average ticket? How many people do you have working for you? And do you have a controller, right? Like, so they could actually, a controller, CFO, an accounting, somebody that actually knows their numbers, right? I ask them those 3 questions. 8 or 9 out of 10 contractors don't even know their closing percentage, don't even know their average ticket, don't even know their average turnover. Like they just don't know. And that's the problem, right? Raise your prices and start educating yourself on financials. And I promise you, you're going to come back and be like, you know what, Ismael, you're right.
There's people in this group take dares very seriously. I've had so many people that have said to me since Pantheon, when you dare people to raise their prices. A gentleman here, Ron, wrote in the group saying, we raised our prices when Ismael dared us at Pantheon, and we went from 34% GM to 64% in 1 month. And I've heard of that. So
they text me all day long. They DM me on Facebook. Hey, Ismael, you told me to do it 10%. I did 20%. And I'm like, okay, what happened? He's like, nothing. I'm making more money. I'm like, I told you, nothing happened. The fear of pricing yourself where you need to be so you make enough money, that's what's keeping you from making more money. It's you guys fighting yourself over like, what is the customer gonna say? What about this? What about my employees? What about the sales guys? What about this? Like, there's whatabouts that's keeping you away from making more money. Like when I raise my prices, the first thing I do is I get all my project managers in the training room and I tell them, congratulations, all you fuckers are gonna get a raise today. And they're like, dude, you charge more, they get paid more.
Yep.
So
what I would say too, though, like, so I agree with Ismael entirely. Most people are underpriced, and there's some other things you can do to raise your average ticket. I'll talk about that. But you know this, Ishmael. One things, it's never the customer that has the issue with the price increase. Most of the time, it's the business owner.
Yes.
Sometimes it's the team members. If the team members think it's too high,
Right.
then that's where you lose customers. It's not because of the customer. So sometimes you got to do like the dollar bill exercise where you go through the P&L and you
Give
got to
us-
explain and go through that process.
Josh, give the scoop on that, because I've had people reach out to me and their main fear is not that the customers won't pay. Their main fear is that they'll get pushed back from their techs or they'll
Right.
get back from their team.
The reason you get pushback from the tech is because they don't understand how the business works.
Right.
Plain and simple, right? So a good way to tackle this is really to explain why pricing is the way it is, right? So what I've done in the past, and it's super effective, is you take a P&L, right? And you use last month's P&L, so May's P&L, and you have $101 bills with you, right? And you take that P&L, and this is your actual P&L, but it's broken down by percentages. You don't have to share the actual dollar amounts, right? And you sit up in front of the room and say, hey, I want everyone to understand why we're going to raise our price. I want everyone to understand why we're raising our price and why our price is set the way it is. Because what they think is, hey, this contactor costs 400. We're selling for $450. I know it costs $20. I get paid $90. They're fucking making like $300. I mean, but that's not how business works. So you take the P&L and you start going through it like line item by line item. You group some things together and you go like, how much you guys think we pay on like parts, materials, or equipment? And they're going to guess a number, and some will be pretty close, and you'll say, hey, it's at 28%. You said 29. I'll go ahead and pay you the $28. So now I've got their attention. They just made $28 for nothing, right? And how much do you guys make? They should all know that. And hey, we make 20%. You're right. Yep. Here's $20 for you. How much do you think we pay in finance fees and credit card charges? How much do you think we pay in gas? Insurance for our vehicles, right? How much do you pay just to answer the phone, support staff, right? And you start going through these items line by line, and you pick, your top 20, you combine some, but at the end of it, you end up, if you're really set up well, you're making 18 or $20 out of every 100 as a company. Most companies make significantly less than that, right? So if that applies to you, it's even better. But so you got $18, then you say, well, that's not exactly how it works. In business, you got to pay Uncle Sam. So you take $18 and you give $9 to one of the guys and say, I would pay about $500,000 taxes, especially in California, right? So you give that to one tech and now you got $9. You say, well, that's not exactly how it works either, because we have to reinvest this money to make sure it grows and make sure we continue to have success. We need vehicles next year. We might need to expand the building. We need to hire more technicians. There's cost to doing this. So at the end of it, you give $4 or $5 to another guy, you have $4. You have $4 out of the 100, right? Now they're starting to understand all the additional costs in the business. And at the end of that, you say, whoever called how much I made, because they all know whoever raised their hand first, right? You say, remind me again, John, how much do you make out of every $100? Well, we make 20 and I make 4. Now I don't want you to feel bad for me because I make 4 off of every single one of you. We're doing just fine. But I just want you to know that we need to charge the pricing that we do, because otherwise we don't have money to invest. We can't pay our taxes and we can't pay for all the things that make this business run. So that's a great way to wrap their head around the price increase. Or if you're just having general pushback on price, because they don't understand, they all think, hey, this part costs $20. I get paid $90. It's $110, maybe another $10. They're making $400 on every call. And that's just not how business works, unfortunately. I would love that to be the case, but it's just not.
I love that. And guys, we're going to send the recording for this. Literally, that is a big reason people hold back changing their prices, is they're afraid of kickback. That exercise, I've seen such resistant techs going from techs who are like receptive to this price change, like that through this exercise. So make sure you listen to it again and roll it out. We have
real quick, Laura, let me get my,
because Josh likes to confuse people and I don't, because I'm too dumb. What I do is I tell my technicians, my installers, my sales guys, every time we raise prices, we give them something, right? So like I tell them like, look, if we raise the price 10, 15, 20%, oh, Ismael, we're super expensive. Guys, number one, I got to pay you guys more. Number two, the installers got to get paid more. Number three, the technicians, like I want everybody to make more. It's not just I'm raising the prices so the company makes more, right? Like this year we offer 2 weeks paid vacation for our installer instead of 1 week, like how everybody does. Like, All those little things cost a lot of money for us to be able to keep the business afloat. So when I do a price increase, I make it a priority to tell them, hey, not only are we raising the price, but we're also giving you guys more. Like we're giving you a better health insurance. We're giving you more vacation time. We're giving you a higher percentage of your commissions, right? So it's a give and take for both of them where everybody's happy. And now they go out in the field making more money and feeling better for themselves too.
Yep. I would do both. Like is the truth. Like I would do both. Then Laura, to your question, how do you increase average ticket? Certainly raising your price is the easiest way to do it. Like that's a no brainer. What a lot of people screw up too is they don't have a consistent simplified pitch, right? So they like a lot of companies have like, hey, I have this perfect 5-minute pitch for air scrubbers. And I have this perfect pitch for new systems. And I have this perfect pitch for when we're selling maintenance agreements. And what you're doing is you're creating like 20 things for this technician to remember, and they're not going to do it, not effectively, right? You need to create a simplified process where you could sell in every single one. We use, like, I noticed most of why. I'm sure Ismael was heard and probably using it now too. It's the most effective simplified system. You could sell anything with that. We'll give out the details on how that works and everything too. So make this easy for you. That's what a lot of people screw up too. Their average ticket is low because they're not running an accessory program and they have a pitch for every single thing they sell that's entirely different. And then technicians can't execute, right? Implementation, execution, simplicity is the secret to doing it.
Yep.
I love it. Okay, so a few questions here. And we may go back to something you just teased them all there on the formula. Some things Josh doesn't give away is because we keep it for our members and we got to be kind of fair-ish too. So, okay, Jason, you asked, what do you think about raising dispatch fee? What are the averages out there? We're at 89.
89 is fine, 90 is fine, 100 is fine, whatever is fine. Like that's just a hook to get yourself inside the door, guys. Like you're not gonna make a ton of money on your on your dispatch fee. Like your P&L is not gonna say, well, you made 10% on your dispatch fee. Your mainstream of revenue is the install department, right? Your install department, your IQ department, your installation, like all those big tickets is what creates the profit. Like me charging $88 to go in the door. If I ran 1,000 calls at $88 a pop, I didn't make anything. If we just charge $88, I'm not gonna make enough money to keep this business afloat. Or even if you're a $2-3 million company, if you're charging $80 to get in the door, you're not gonna make enough money to be able to run a business with those $88. Those $88 is just a fee to educate people.
So let me push back because I have a very strong stance on this, which is number one, if you're charging a dispatch fee, you're fucking up. The reason is a dispatch fee is a cost for just sending out. I'm not saying you shouldn't charge something, but you shouldn't call it a dispatch fee because it's a dirty word for customers. Call it diagnostic because it implies work, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. The diagnostic, whatever, we
Right.
call it a service fee, right?
Right. And what
for us to get in your door and tell you what's wrong with your unit.
what I would say is I don't know if $89 is a good price or not. It depends on your competition. These are one of the things that customers shop over the phone. So I want to be price competitive on it because if I'm inexpensive there, then the customer's mind, I'm inexpensive everywhere. So I can actually charge more for repairs if I have a lower diagnostic fee. The other thing I would say is if you're running a diagnostic fee, which everybody should be doing a diagnostic fee, you should always waive it with repair because then I get to tell the story. Some companies come just to charge just to come out. We would never do that. Now, what we do have is a small diagnostic fee. That's $89. It covers us all the time it takes for us to take apart the whole system, figure out exactly what's going on, and give you a firm price and exactly how to fix it. The cool part about that diagnostic fee is if we do any work at all, we go ahead and waive it. So how much does it cost for us to come out? Truthfully, the answer is nothing. Now I've eliminated all those objections of how much it costs to come out. I'm going to close more calls on the phone. Now, did I lose that $89? No, I fucking added $89 to my repairs. I'm just putting it on the repair side, which isn't price competitive because no one calls and says, hey, how much does a contactor come to replace? Well, how do you know you need a contactor? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there's things that are price competitive that $89 might be the right number for you. It depends on what your competition's at. If they're at 49, I'm not saying you have to go 49, but you probably can't be 129, right? And some people will say, hey, like, I'll lose the customers I don't want when I do that. It's like, yeah, and you'll lose customers you want too.
Exactly.
right? So you gotta be aware, right? And
never
that
know
doesn't
what's
mean you have to be cheap everywhere. Just be inexpensive to the things that people can shop.
Guys, what Josh is trying to tell you, because he overcomplicates everything, because that's how his brain works. Guys,
Look at the simplest shit ever. What are you talking about?
overcomplicated. Book the call. Book the call. If they want to pay fucking $29, who gives a shit? You don't know what's behind that door. You don't know if behind that door there's a $20,000 ticket. Until you send the technician, until you provide that customer experience, that's when you're gonna do it. So the number one thing is book the freaking call. If it doesn't matter if it's $89, well, this company is charging me, $29. Can you guys come out today? Like, book the call. It's a 15-year-old unit, $29 or $89. Who gives a shit? It's a 15-year-old unit. It's gonna need something. Okay.
Yep.
Book the call.
I tell all the time, like people especially that have low closing percentages over the phone, right? Which, by the way, you need to be tracking. But the first thing I say is listen, unless you got a crystal ball, something I don't know. I don't know how much that call is worth. I have to assume every single call is an
Did
install
you just drop them off?
because
or did you want
eventually
to-
it is, right? So every call to me is a $12,000 call.
Yes. Yes.
Every single one.
Yep.
So if I think of that call as $12,000, do I give a shit about $60 on the diagnostic fee? Of course not. The truth is we would most of us would do that for free, but we can't because it devalues the service.
Exactly.
But that's the only reason we don't do it. If customers didn't care, we would do it for free because we just want to get out into the house.
Yep.
So just because we're on the same topic, and I'm skipping one question here, but I promise to go back just because it's in line. Jason, I think we answered your question. Let me know if you have any others. There was a gentleman asking about plumbing. What is a good average ticket for plumbing?
For install or for service? For service, my buddy Aaron Gaynor probably runs one of the best plumbing companies in the United States, $40 million company out of Ohio. He says we should be between $1,200 and $1,400 for a service. A service ticket, and an install ticket between $14 and $16. At Next Gen, our average install ticket right now is $16,800 for plumbing install. Right now, our service ticket's a little bit low. It's $608. Right? But we run so many installs that most of our revenue comes through the install department. So that's why our average ticket's so high, right? We focus on that. So on it. Now, if we had 100 technicians and most of the revenue would come in through the service side, then we would focus on driving that service ticket way up. But since we're flipping so many calls from service to a project manager install, right? We focus on the install side of it, right? So it depends on the model of business that you have.
So Ismael likes to make everything complicated. You know what I mean? No, simple answer for you. It depends what market you are. LA is a more expensive market than, Kansas City, right? So there is a difference there. But for an average plumbing take on service, you want between $500 to $600. Certainly on install it could be higher. It certainly depends on how you define install versus service too, right? But for service, $500 to $600 is a generally good number. But certainly it could be higher. There's companies that do higher. It just depends how you're set up and what you're trying to do.
So let me tell you. Let me tell you what happened. So last year January was our first month in plumbing. We did $143,000 in our first month in plumbing at Next Gen, right? This last month in May we closed with $2.4 million in plumbing, right? That's like 2,000% growth to where we're at. We run the exact same system that we run on the HVAC side. We run it on the plumbing side. Right?
Yeah.
Technician goes out there, builds up the value, turns over to a project manager, install comes and cleans it up, and then they go to their next call. 3 calls per day. I don't care what Josh says, 3 calls per day, unless a call reschedules, unless it's an owner tenant, they kick you out of the house, right? 4 calls maximum. But we run the exact same model and we pay the exact same on the plumbing HVAC, technicians on the plumbing HVAC, the sales guys on the installers, we pay them out. Like, you run the exact same model on it, and that's how you create those high average tickets. It's a turnover model and making sure that the technician builds enough value to turn over to a project manager or a channel manager, whatever you guys want to call it.
I actually agree entirely. The only thing I would say is I agree with plumbing, the 3 calls, because plumbing calls generally take longer than AC calls.
Yep.
Okay, this is a pivot, but such an important question, and I love this stuff. Donald asked suggestions on where to gain the financial literacy, i.e. books or online classes. So I'm going to kick this. I have a few ideas. I know we do this as part of our contractor catapult, which if you weren't part of, there's a 7-day free trial. You definitely should check it out. Josh and Ishmael, you can give some other kind of tips on, like, if you understand financial literacy, it's so liberating because you can literally
it's so
build any
important.
business.
I got the best answer for you. Ready?
Go ahead. Yes.
Hire somebody. You're not a fucking accountant. We're plumbers, we're air conditioning guys, we're, know enough where you can read a P&L statement or a balance sheet and know enough where you could ask the questions, but don't spend your whole freaking life trying to figure out the ins and out of accounting, right? We're contractors. Focus on the contracting side and the operation side. Hire a CFO, hire a controller, hire a senior accountant, hire somebody that knows the financials that you can trust, number one. And number two, that actually knows how to structure a P&L properly. The P&L, guys, all it is a structured format of where you can look at a sheet and be like, that's what's wrong with the business right there. This is exactly what you need to fix. It's visibility inside the system of where you're losing and where you're making money. That's why it's called a profit and loss statement, okay? And this is where 99% of you guys are gonna fail, because you guys are trying to figure out the accounting side and focusing so much on that you should hire somebody that knows what the hell they're doing and keep running the operation, keep producing revenue, keep increasing the tickets, keep hiring technicians, keep marketing constantly, keep doing what you know how to do, and hire for what you don't know how to do. Know enough where you can pull a P&L statement on a TV and be like, look, right there, our average ticket. Look it, we're spending way too much on marketing money. Hey, look it, we're spending, our overhead's creeping up. That's why our gross profit's going down. All those things that you can look at a P&L statement.
Overhead is not in gross profit, just so we're aware, Ishmael.
I know.
Oh, he knows his finances so well.
Know enough where you can question it. Know enough where you can question it. That's all I'm saying. Know enough where you can question it. Hire somebody that actually knows what they're doing, so that you can work aside with him on making educated decisions.
So one thing, on that. Oh wait, hold on. One thing on that, and I agree. Like, hiring somebody that drives your financials is obviously so key. However, I wouldn't just look at the P&L. I would certainly look at the cash flow statement and the balance sheet too.
Of course.
But there's a guy called Keith Cunningham. He's got a whole series on YouTube. It's
free too.
And it's free. And he will literally, his whole thing is he'll go into Harvard accounting, these guys who, feel amazing about getting into Harvard, and basically teach accounting in a couple hours. And he makes something that people are typically scared of. And I get that, I was too. And it's so easy. He literally, in a few YouTube videos, amazing. His name's Keith Cunningham. Really old guy. If you ever get the opportunity to hear him speak, hear him.
He's one of the best entrepreneurs of all time.
Amazing. Really great guy. Another thing, Josh, in case you forget to say it, what some people are also unsure of when they look at their P&L is they're not sure what they firstly look at the numbers versus looking at percentages, and secondly, they don't know what percentage is too low or too high. So again, in our catapult program, we will make sure that you feel guided and you're within the appropriate percentage.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. I don't disagree with Ishmael. Like, if it's not your skill set, of course, hire for it. I do think having a basic understanding of accounting is important for every business owner, not just for your business, but for your personal life. It's like financial literacy is so rare and it's so freaking important. You can make so much money by just understanding how money works. So yeah, definitely check out that Keith Cunningham, and simple things too. Like Ishmael's right. Like, you don't need to know the ins and outs of everything in accounting and taxes. It's not really relevant to you. Right. It's beneficial to know, but it's not your highest. It's not going to move the needle the most. But you better know how to read a P&L sheet, a cash flow statement, a balance sheet, and your accounts receivable, accounts payable. Like, those you should know like the back of your hand. And that should be fairly simple. Now, the key to this is a lot of people don't even understand how to read that, right? They have no idea like what they're really even looking at. And a big piece of this too is if it's not set up properly, like, I'm very financially literate, right? I know exactly what I'm doing. My father, accounting is his background. Accounting is the best business background you could have, right? I was taught from a young age how accounting works and how to read a P&L and all the fun stuff. But if it's not set up properly, I don't give a shit if you gave me like your P&L and it's set up poorly. Like, I don't know what's going on. So you need to hire for that. As far as reading a P&L, check out that Keith Cunningham thing. And the biggest thing that people make a mistake on is they don't break down their business. Like they just have overall P&L instead of by individual departments, and they do it by dollar amount. Dollar amount is not as obvious as you think it is. You should be breaking it down by percentage of revenue, because when you know the percentage of revenue, there's also ranges. You should know what should hit. So we all know that, for install, your equipment should be anywhere from 26 to 28% of your revenue. If it's higher than that, oh shit, we either need to renegotiate with our distributor or we need to raise our prices, right? We all know labor should be anywhere from 13 to 15%, right? For install, right? 7 to 8% for install, 13 to 15% for the entire company, because install is lower than service. Service, you could be anywhere from 22 to 26 or 27, depending on how you pay. But knowing those ranges are super important too, which is a quick conversation with someone who knows what they're doing. Certainly we can have a conversation with you, and we're going to talk to you guys about getting on a phone call to help you implement this. That's a big step too, is what is a good range? A lot of people making 7% net and they're like, oh yeah, I'm killing it. It's oh no, you're one big problem from going out of business.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I just put the Keith Cunningham link there to the actual series in the chat for anyone who wants it. Tracy, let's give that in the follow-up recording to the guys too. Really amazing. You'll feel like a badass if you are if you know nothing, it'll make you super informed. Okay. There was another question that I missed. Michael Wiley. I want to read this because I think it's interesting. You can always flip the script and say we would never waive our trip charge because we all know it takes gas and tech time to come out and look at your system, and we would never incorporate that cost into all of our repair. I'm not sure.
I'm going to hop on this real quick and then Ismael will jump on. Michael, if you're closing your calls over the phone at 95%, you can do whatever the hell you want. If you're closing them at 80%, you need to switch. I'm telling you, very clearly, by charging a trip charge and not waiving it with repair, you lose no money by doing it. There's no risk by doing it, and you will close more calls. So I would recommend not doing that. You will see an instantaneous change in the conversion percentage.
Get your technicians inside that freaking door, and that's all. That should be your number one priority. The initial start of your day should be, hey, is my board full, right?
100%.
Does every technician have calls? Does every project manager have one call and ready to open for the turnovers for the late calls? Okay, that should be your number one priority. From $1 to $20 million, from $1 to $100 million in revenue, your number one priority is to make sure that board is full. And if it's not full, then figure out why it's not full. Are they charging trip charges? Is the CSRs not overcoming objections on the phone? Are we just not having that customer? Nothing happens, guys, right? The basic system that I keep telling you guys, the number one thing is booking the call, right? Booking the call starts the whole experience. If you can't book a call,
it doesn't matter how good your service is.
It doesn't matter how good your technicians are, how fast you can get the installs done, how good your sales guy. The booking the call is one of the most overstocked departments in the whole company, right? Book the freaking call and then deal with the repercussions later.
So I love it. Ken, thank you for showing up. Ken shows up to everything. I love it. What are your thoughts about? So Ken's question is, what are your thoughts about using mass media for recruiting, and then using it for TV, radio, using mass media for recruiting, or using TV, radio, or billboards for recruiting?
That's what we did. So that's what we did when I went from print, which was in 2016, 17, and 18. The Google era, the Yelp era, the digital era wasn't there yet. Back in the day in 2016, and I say back in the day, if it was 40 years ago, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, print was everything. You needed to be on newspapers. I'm telling you, print was everything. And then it switched over to Google.
How big a business were you back then?
30 million. In 2016, we were 10 mil. 2017, we were 18.
That's why it was everything for you.
Well, that's what was working at the time, and that's what was affordable for the business, right? Yeah. Some of you guys are $5-10 million trying to go on TV and spend your whole budget, and then wonder why the phones don't ring. The most economical way to do it right now, at the time, was print. That was the most economical way to make those phones ring. Right now, Google, Yelp, Nextdoor, all those Facebook, you could make the phones ring on it, right? So mass media was used in Next Gen Air. When we started putting up all those billboards all over Southern California, there was a point that we had 280 billboards all over, and we used it for both. Number one, for the branding purposes and being able to capture the lead on Google. But number two, every freaking 5 minutes, they would see a billboard, a technician, a sales guy, an installer, somebody working at another company, and they would come and apply here the next day. Like, those people are having rough days. They just left a shitty call for the 20th time because it wasn't booked properly, and they're seeing another one of our billboards, right?
So you're saying that, David, that a billboard with the purpose of getting a customer serves a dual purpose and will also get a tech.
For sure.
But this is the biggest but. It's bigger than Josh's but. The biggest but is being able to afford it in a long-term, consistent way. If you're just gonna put a billboard for 3 months and be like, oh yeah, let me pump my chest over it, nothing's gonna happen. We had billboards up for 3 years consecutively. We just dropped them this year, and we went heavy on TV, heavy on digital, because we're trying different ways to lead generate, right? People got the fucking the point of who Next Gen Air is, right? So as long as your controller, your financial partner, or your accountant, whoever you're using, can tell you, hey, you know what, the company's doing good. We have enough cash in the reserve. We can afford to invest, you know, $250,000 for the next year on billboards, right? Without hurting your cash flow, without, you know, struggling. Then that's when you make those decisions. You don't just make those decisions on going on TV for 1 month because you have $500,000 in the bank account that you just made over summer. That doesn't work that way. It's consistent. I've said it 100 times on Avengers. The most impactful marketing source in the world is consistency.
Yeah.
There's
three things. There's three things that work in marketing, and they work without fail. The problem is that they're expensive, right? It's consistency, longevity, and frequency, right? That's it. And what I would say too, to kind of answer you directly, Kenny, like, does radio, television, billboards work for recruiting specifically? Yeah, they do. What I would generally recommend though is, like, if you wanted to do recruiting radio ads, and I'm just using radio as an example, I wouldn't probably start a campaign just for recruiting. I would only do it as a supplementary, meaning like I would already have to have a presence on that station to run a recruiting specific ad. I hope that kind of makes sense. Like, I wouldn't just, hey, I'm going to spend $5,000 a month and all we do is recruiting, and that's all I talked about. And I'm not even going for customers. If I could take 10% of that $5,000 budget and put that towards recruiting on that station, if that makes sense.
The number one recruiting source is your people.
Oh, 100%.
The number one let me listen to that. The number one recruiting source is the culture that you have in the company. As soon as people know that you pay well, that you treat them well, that you have work all year round, that is what's going to make that impactful recruiting in your company. Dude, there's never a day, I promise you guys, there's never a day that I walk into Next Gen in the lobby over there. There's always 2 to 3 to 4 people waiting to fill out an application, to talk to a manager. There's never a day for the last 2 years that I've walked in and there's not people applying. The day that I walk in and there's not people applying, that's when I'm going to freak out, because that's when something in the operation changed, something in management, either we're not treating people right, we're not paying them properly, whatever the case is. The most impactful way to recruit people is through your own people.
What are things like, and Parker and Sons is the same way. Like, there's people that are like, they have a
we
strong,
have a waiting list.
Yeah,
so it's crazy. That's such a good position. I mean, we had to figure out how to recruit and retain. Like, it wasn't like,
but
it was a process.
Just a second on that. So yes, we know that Parker and Sons is like that. We know Next Gen is like that. But what do you think are the unique things that you guys, that even a smaller company can do, that make a person feel like cared for, and that causes this like referral culture within, from one tech to a different company's tech, and so on and so on? What are the little things that people could like incorporate like right now?
Pay them more, treat them better. That's it. As simple as that. Doesn't matter if you're at 1 million, 5 million, 50 million.
What does treating them better look like? Like, of course, just be a good human toward them, but like, is there certain things that you do that really mean a lot to your folk?
Just being able to treat somebody like a human being, having empathy, like knowing that these guys aren't fucking robots. Like, right. I walk in here, I'm playing fucking poker in that poker table with technicians walking in and out. I'm like, hey, let's get out there and fucking kill it today. I'm pumping them up. Not just me, my manager, my executive. Like, it doesn't matter what size company you are, treat them better and pay them more, and you will never, ever have to worry, ever, listen to me, ever have to worry about people coming into your business. If the number one reason that I explain at Pantheon, you guys all come up to me and say, Ismael, how can I get people? Nobody wants to apply. Nobody wants to work. It's so hard to find good people. That's the number one thing you guys tell me. You want to know what I tell everybody? Pay them more. Pay them more, treat them better, and let that message, right, amplify through the industry, and people will always come and apply. Those are the two simple things. Doesn't matter what stage you are in business. Don't give me that as an excuse. That's an excuse. Well, I'm only a $3 million company. I can't afford to pay more. Raise your fucking prices and pay them more.
So, I mean, here's what I would say too. I don't disagree. Like, paying them more is a winning formula, right? Now it's got to be set up properly. Like, you got to include in your pricing, you got to protect yourself, but there's ways to do that fairly easily. But also understand, like, you know, he's simplifying, and he's not wrong, but like, people come for money, but they stay for relationships, right? So you need to build the relationships with your team. Now, as you grow, that doesn't mean Ismael or Josh Kelly or Paul Kelly or Daryl Bingham have to have that relationship, but someone in management of some sort needs to have a close relationship with them. And I would say the biggest problem that people have with recruiting, like, oh, it's so hard recruiting. It's not. It's really actually not. If you're willing to do the work and you know what you're doing, you have a little bit of a plan. Most contractors, like, if you break that, it's a function of time, money, and effort. Like, you say, hey, what's your number one problem? It's like recruiting. I can't get any guys. Like, okay, what do you do for recruiting? And they're like, well, I put an Indeed ad. I'm like, okay, that took you 15 minutes. Oh, I talked to my guys about bringing in text like one time. Okay, that took you 15 minutes, right? Yeah. And you start breaking it down in their most important issue. Sometimes they spend less than an hour a month on. It's like, what? Well, of course it's not going to work.
I put it on my Facebook. I'm hiring installers in April.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, I'm not saying that's not a good idea. That's just not enough.
Of course. It's like, let me give you a perfect example. So all you ladies and men know what it is. It's like walking into a door. It's like when you get married to your wife and you walk in the door and you give her a kiss one day. And then 3 years later, you haven't even given her a kiss. As soon as you walk in the door, you wonder why she's mad. It's the exact same thing. Put the goddamn effort in the relationship with everybody and people will stay. Pay them more and make sure you're paying attention to them. Walk in the door. Hey guys, how are you doing? Introduce yourself, right? You're not that goddamn busy. If you're that busy, that means you're not hiring enough people. Yeah. That means we're trying to run too many calls for yourself. That means you think you're making more money by being on the field. You're not making any money by being on the field. You're losing money.
So
let's do this, Laura, because I know we're coming up on time.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think we should probably start like wrapping it up. And what I would say is, everybody that's on this call, we want to do, number one, Ismael, thanks for hopping on. Number two, we want to do something like to make sure, like, I know this, Ismael certainly knows this. Ideas are cheap. In fact, ideas are worthless. Implementation is the only thing that matters. And you can listen to this webinar, and I spent an hour on a webinar, but if you don't execute it as ideas, it's not going to do anything for you. Like, it's a Tony Robbins quote, but I think it's a brilliant quote. It's like, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is potential power, right? It only matters if you fucking use it. So here's what I want to do. Laura or Tracy, drop the link in the chat right now. We're also going to email you. For everybody on this call, if you want help executing these ideas, the literal playbook, the step-by-step action plan, we're going to put everything together for you. Get on a phone call with Laura's going to be doing most of them. I'll take some of the calls. Maybe we talk Ismael taking a call or two, and actually execute these ideas. We'll give you the literal playbook, literal plan. So click on the chat, click on that link, and set up a time in the calendar.
We've only opened up.
Make this happen.
We have only a certain amount of spots opened up. So click in fast and get your spot. And to Josh's point,
we'll try to cover as many as you can. There's like 100 people on this call.
Right.
So
we will take everything that was covered today and make sure that you know how to execute it exactly in your own company.
Like, literally, we'll give you a playbook, like a step-by-step playbook.
I'll give you a playbook. Pay them more and raise your goddamn prices. That's your playbook. There's nothing else.
That's one of them.
There's nothing else that you need. Pay them more and raise prices.
But like having a guide to killing it in the summer, like these guys have just shared with you, is so powerful. Now it's a matter of making sure these ideas are not just things that you intellectually know, but that are like in your business and you see them and you're living them every day. And executing ideas can be scary, and but it certainly doesn't have to be. These calls are already.
It's almost as simple as this. Like we talked about focusing on costs in the summertime. Everybody knows that, but no one does it, right? Do you have a once a month? Do you go through the P&L item line by line, your subscription over cost? Do you know your percentages? Do you have someone on your team that's not paid by revenue, but paid by cost saving, right? You give them a bonus on cost saving. There's two ways to make more profit. Make more money, cut down costs. Which one's easier? Cutting down costs is more effective. I got to do it once. You know what I mean?
I have somebody here as an example that wants us to cover on the call their sales process. Like, what does an amazing sales process look like so your average ticket remains high?
I'll walk you through that. I know it's most of why, step by step, exactly how I do it.
That's what we mean by ensuring that you guys don't just have this desire for higher average ticket or whatever, but it actually gets executed. So the next time you and I talk, this is within your business, like rocking and rolling and making you guys a lot more money. So that's just an example there that I want to share with you. I look forward to this. Who's this gentleman? Todd, I look forward to talking with you.
Ismael, any closing statements, my friend?
I hope you guys, man. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I like to think I'm pretty dumb, and that's why I keep everything so simple, just for me to understand, because I know my team is very intelligent. So I keep things simple, man. Like I keep telling everybody, treat these people better. By people, I mean your employees, your internal employees, and pay them more. And I promise you guys, you will make more money. You will make more money. I started making more money in 2016, and now 2018. We were in single digit profits, 2016, 17, and 18, single digit profits. I got it up to $30 million in our first 3 years, $31 million in our first 3 year business. I was incompetent in financials, right? I'm still not to where I need to be running $120 million business, but I educated myself, number one, and number two, when I started paying everybody more, right? When I started paying everybody, sales guys, technicians, installers, in-house support, I wanted to be the highest paid employee in Southern California, and I think I am now. When I started paying more, it went up to double digits. Now we're in mid double digit profits right now for a company this size, growing at 96% growth rate, which is insane. So just pay these people more, treat them better, man, and don't underestimate the value that you bring to a customer. Fucking charge them more, man. You're here to make money too. So.
Ismael, I think there's people who still want to know about your data cube. So
I'll put the link on it, Laura. Nicholas can help him. He's one of our PMs that can answer those questions. Look, guys, they're screens that we use all over the shops. You can see them over there. They're in the executive room, they're in the training room, and technicians will pass by there and literally take pictures of it, screenshot it, put it on their social media. There'll be 5 or 6 technicians, sales guys, talking shit on each other right there up on that screen, taking pictures of those screens and sharing on their social media of how they're doing good or what they're doing, how they can improve. So it's more, DataCube was built to be a competitive platform, right? For the technicians, the sales guys, and the installers, so that then you can produce more profit.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna do a follow-up email after this. Tracy, just include the link for DataCube.
Yep.
Yeah, and you got to give any listeners here a special offer, right, Ismael?
Of course. I'll make sure that we put a special offer with Tracy and Laura in it.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I look forward to talking to you. These the call spots are almost full. I look forward to talking to many of you guys. And if you haven't booked that call, make sure you do. I don't want these calls to be you guys consuming loads of ideas and not getting them executed. And that's what this call is all going to be about. You leave with a playbook. I would encourage you, for those that have booked the call, bring your GM or any other decision maker in your business, because we're going to make sure that that this isn't just you executing these ideas, that you're giving these ideas to people in your business to like roll them out and help you. Because Ismael says you can't be doing it all yourself. It doesn't make sense. Thank you. I'm delighted you guys showed up today. Ishmael, cheers. I know you're busy causing havoc in the next gen office, so I'm glad you took the time. Thank you.
No problem, guys. Take care.
Take care, guys.